Hi everyone, it's Drew here. Today we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about gardening instead of nutrition. So first, what is gardening? So it's the growing and taking care of our own plants. It's the planting of the seeds, the watering, and at the end of it, when you get to pick the fruit or vegetable or the flower, and see all your progress at the end after all your hard work. So why do we do it, right? Why do people garden? Why do we like it, right? So it's a relaxing hobby to pass time, especially right now when we're all stuck inside during this quarantine. Having kind of like an outlet to go outside to like spend time with your family, do it yourself, and at the end of the day, that satisfaction of working hard to grow your own plants. And it's also a great way to eat healthy, right? Without like going to the store or something. When you're planting, you can plant like vegetables or fruits, pick them at the end of the season, and then you have all this great food to eat at home. And it's also just very like a safer way and a natural way to grow your own food, right? So in this lesson, we'll talk about two different types of gardening. The first one is conventional gardening, where they use dangerous chemicals called pesticides. And this is definitely more common. And pesticides are basically to keep away, the insects, the flies, or there's like the small animals to make sure that they don't eat the fruit or vegetable. And although it is really effective, it's not really good for, the animal, the person eating the fruit or vegetable, or the environment either. That's why it's really important when you do get those fruits or veggies from the store or the farmer's market, you want to wash them under cold running water to make sure you get rid of any of those pesticides and it's not harmful for you anymore. On the other side, we have organic gardening. So this is a more natural form of gardening where we don't use any more pesticides. And an example of this that can include organic gardening is composting. So this is when you use food scraps for fertilizer instead of just throwing those foods away. So for example, you could use banana scraps, banana peels, or like coffee grounds. And I know it's kind of difficult to maybe compost if you don't really have a composting bin, but I'm sure if you look it up online, it's really easy, instead of just throwing them away, you can just gather them up. But definitely look that up online. I'm not an expert myself, so I don't know, but try to look out for that. And then also, when you do look for organic fruits or vegetables, try to look for that USDA organic label you see on the bottom right there of your screen, just to make sure that the food is organic from a respectable organization. So some foods have more pesticides than others, and we call these the dirty dozen. Now, these plants have the most pesticides usually. So this is stuff like the strawberries, the spinach, the apples, the peaches, the grapes. So when you get these from the store, the farmer's market, wherever you get them from, you want to make sure to wash them under cold running water to, again, ensure that there are no more pesticides in there. And then also, on the other hand, we have like Clean 15, which these plants don't usually have a lot of pesticides, but make sure you always wash them. It's a rule of thumb, right? Whenever you get a fruit or vegetable, make sure you just wash them before you eat them or you serve them or whatever, just to make sure there are no pesticides there. All right, so what do plants need to survive? Very similar to humans, actually. So first, so they need sunlight, right? I'm sure you've all heard of this. If you're outside and gardening, you want to make sure you have enough sunlight coming through. You don't want anything blocking it. And if you keep it inside, if you have like little succulents or little like plants or whatever around the house like me, you want to make sure you keep it near like a window so it gets the light. And even if you live near a place where you don't get a ton of sunlight, there are these things called plant lights where you can get on Amazon for like 15 or 20 bucks. And you just keep it over the plant so it gets the light source that it needs to grow. Next, you need water, right? Plants need water. You can't have too much or too little. Usually plants will have like little instructions on like how much and how often you water them. So that's really important to keep out for. Also soil. Soil is basically food for plants. It gives it the nutrients that it needs to grow. Next, temperature. So being in Illinois, it's a little harder, right? You can't really grow anything in the middle of January, but the best temperature to grow is kind of like right now, you know, during the spring, during March, April, when the temperature is like 65 to 75 degrees. That's when plants are more likely to grow and to grow like big and strong. And finally, space. So you want to make sure to give the plants enough space between each other. So that picture is a perfect example. If you put them too close to each other, the roots will kind of be like fighting for like position in the nutrients and stuff. So making sure that it's far enough to where they won't be doing that. All right, so let's talk about the stages of growth for a plant. So first, follow along on the left side of your screen where we have like these awesome pictures. So first, you see that the seed is planted in the ground and it contains all the nutrients it needs to grow. The second stage is when the plant begins to sprout from the seed. So you see that little yellow thing under the ground. And then the germination stage is when the sprout actually shoots up through the ground. So you can see it because it's above the ground. And you can see that little like green root there. That's done. Next is the vegetative stage where the leaves get bigger. And you can actually see it now. The roots are also like growing too on the bottom of the ground. Then you get the bud stage where the bud begins to sprout and you see even more. And then finally the flowering stage where that flower or the fruit starts to grow too. And depending on the plant, all plants are different. So you might see something different for every plant. But at the flowering stage, that's really when it starts to grow and it might be time to harvest or like pick them out and you can eat them. All right, so finally, we'll talk a little bit about photosynthesis. So first, where do we get our energy, right? As humans, we get them from food, right? We get them from fruits and veggies, from grains, from proteins, all that fun stuff. And plants are pretty similar, right? They need photosynthesis. And just like we get to eat food to get energy, plants soak up sunlight to get their energy, right? So what happens during photosynthesis? First, plants soak up water and breathe in carbon dioxide. Next, they soak up energy from the sun, and then they make oxygen and sugar with the sun's energy. So the plants breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. That's actually how we get our oxygen, right? That's why plant trees and stuff are really important for the environment, for us to live, right? I'm sure you've heard that before too. But yeah, those are kind of the three big stages of photosynthesis. And that is actually all I have for you for this lesson. So I hope you guys learned a little more about gardening and what it's all about. And I also hope that this encourages you to go outside and plant something yourself to see the different stages of the plant, and it'll feel really good at the end when you finally like get that plant and you like eat it or something if it's edible. All right, well, if you guys have any questions, let me know, comment on the bottom, but that's all I have. Thanks.